Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell. Alex, a 56-year-old businessman and owner of a trading company, was happy with his life. Together with his wife, he built his business from scratch and achieved great success in this field. He did not complain about the help of companions and various force majeure because the work has long been established and went on the beaten path. With his wife Cindy, they lived soul to soul, although they had endured a lot of difficulties. There was peace and trust in their marriage. Cindy actively participated in the affairs of the firm, but in recent years devoted herself to the house, decided to do her own lunches and garden. Alex was distracted from studying important papers by a knock at the office. "Come in," he simply answered. In a warm jacket and principled snow, Kate entered. The young woman had recently got a job in the office as a cleaner and had encountered a lot of bosses. For the second time, Kate was holding the hand of 8-year-old David, whose hat was off to the side, and tightly on the motor unwind. "Alex, hi. This boy says you're his daddy. That's why I brought him." "David, what's wrong?" He jumped right out of his seat. "Alex, come in, come in." "Yeah, I went to the store to get me." "How'd you end up?" "I was walking back by the pond. I saw some boys playing on the ice, and then they all ran away." "And your boy was frozen in fear." "The ice under his feet must have screamed. That's why everybody got scared. I cautiously approached him, took him by the hand and brought him to the shore before he was bitten. I got scared and asked him where he lived, and he said his dad was the principal in our building." "That's right," smiled Alex. A little doomed, he stroked his son's head. "You didn't get your feet wet, did you?" "No," answered David, not looking his father in the eyes. "And you didn't get wet yourself? You can't get hypothermia." Alex looked carefully at Kate, whose 3-month-old belly was not visible under the voluminous jacket. She put her palm on it and stroked it gently. "I'm fine. Thank you. I didn't even think about myself at that moment. I just went to your David. He's a worm. I didn't even realize I was afraid of anything." He scolded Alex's son. He ran out of class again without telling anyone. What a manager. "All right, it's a family matter. We'll talk to you at home. Why don't you go out in the hallway?" "Kate, you've been a great help. Thank you so much for your concern. I'm going to take my son home now, get this resolved, and then I'll talk to you." "Okay, Alex, I'm going to get back to work. I'm off the clock too." Kate was not embarrassed by her own situation. She needed a job, so even her own pregnancy didn't stop her. And she came to Alex a few weeks ago and told the HR department that she was expecting a baby. "But I'm ready to work. You won't have any problems with me," said Kate Sam to the head of HR. "And how do you envision that? Walking around the floors with your belly with buckets and rags? Don't you feel sorry for yourself? Not our reputation. What if you get sick while cleaning? You'll sue us later. We know the type. You're only doing this for your own gain." "I don't have an agenda," Kate objected. "My family's going through a rough patch. I really need this job." Kate's assurances didn't win Sam an argument at the office door. Trying to get out, he ran into Alex. "Are you sure you can handle the workload?" he asked. And those, smelling Nancy, turned to him with a smile. "I'm 100% sure. But then it is worth giving Sam a chance. If a man has a desire to work, he should not be discouraged. We're as much in need of a cleaning lady as she is of us right now, as I recall." "Of course, Alex. It'll be done. Come on in." He glanced sullenly at Kate to fill out some paperwork. Sam had held his position for many years. He was strict with his subordinates. He followed his own system and demanded that the others follow it as well. He didn't like it when things didn't go according to his plan, and the appearance of the energetic and also pregnant Kate in the staff spoiled his mood. He thought she had humiliated him in front of his superiors by forcing him to hire her at Alex's request. Now a vengeful Sam was stalking Kate with various assholes. Kate, you assured me you wouldn't fall behind schedule, but this isn't the first time I've noticed this, he said in a cautionary tone. Perhaps your position is hindering you. No, I don't have a problem. It won't happen again. Sam, Kate was very worried about losing her job. Being a janitor wasn't the best dream, but she just had no other choice. Ben, the father of her future child, was not from a rich family, and he was also trying to earn money for a decent wedding. The lovers did not expect the baby to appear in their lives so soon, so they were unprepared for the various expenses, what would fall on their heads. I feel terrible about having to get up so early every day and clean the office of that intoxicated person, regretted Ben, hugging his fiancée. I'm a man, I have to provide for my family. Don't worry, we're both adults and have to take responsibility for our decisions. Not everyone has money right away. Yeah, we rushed into it, but we'll get through it, Kate encouraged her lover. Ben really loved her and dreamed of a family, except that his mother Vanessa was not thrilled with her son's choice. Son, Kate, you're no match for her. What were you thinking when you chose her? I mean, she's neither fish nor chips. Mom, don't say that. You and I have different values. Kate is the perfect woman for me. Is that what you're saying now? What about when you're in a bind? Then you'll understand why I wanted someone else for you. You're a good-looking, smart guy. You should try to get the attention of the more powerful girl. Your father and I couldn't give you everything, but you've got what it takes to make a better life for yourself. What do you think I am? Some kind of Alphonse. A son was born right away. I love you and I respect you. But sometimes you say things I can't understand, Kate, and I will be fine. Just stay out of my way, please. Ben knew what he was talking about. After all, Vanessa often used her influence over her son. He was her only child, and she cherished him as if he were just a baby. Several times his mother had tried to turn Kate and Kate against each other, but was constantly confronted by their great trust and love. They did not succumb to any tricks, and each time after quarrels, having sorted out the situation, they decided to stay together. Vanessa felt that she had the right to express her displeasure to Kate. After all, Ben had become completely out of control when he got involved with her. I don't know what he found in that girl, she complained among her friends. Okay, if Kate was a hottie, I could see why he'd be a sluggish student of her. There's definitely something witchy about her. Maybe she was living my boy. Oh, you like to dramatize. You don't say. It's important, Vanessa said. I'd look at you if your kid spent his life savings on a wedding with vodka like that instead of his own father's surgery. Yeah, poor Frank has suffered so much. You're right. Your Ben's priorities have shifted. Frank was crazy about Kate. He didn't see what he'd contributed, unlike his wife, who was willing to go on and on. Why isn't Kate like that? But not Frank. He saw in his future daughter-in-law tenderness. Caring goodness himself, he needed expensive heart surgery. But so far, the family had no way of carrying it out. Vale, the main breadwinner, could not work as hard as in his youth, and Ben had his own worries in the person of Kate and the future baby. Don't listen to your mother, son. She's always scratching her tongue and doesn't always understand what's what. He waved away his wife's reproaches. Yeah, I know, Dad, but it's not nice. Kate didn't deserve to be treated like that. She treats her mom with all her heart, and she's always pushing her away. It's okay to let it go, right? Kate's carrying your grandchild. Yeah, she'll get used to it. Frank comforted his son. You'll see. I know it well. On the way home, Alex did not have an educational talk with David. He sat in the shower as if he was offended, although his father did not even reprimand his wife. The boy lowered his head sullenly. What happened again? She asked tiredly. After all, such visits home became more and more frequent. He's skipping school. Almost fell through the ice, playing with the boys at the pond near our office. If my coworker hadn't taken him away from there, he would have fallen under the water. David, you can't do that. You have to think a little bit about what you're doing, realize the consequences. Your prank is very dangerous, frowned Cindy. The couple tried not to raise their voice at their son, not to intimidate him and not to punish him strongly. David did not accept their words yet. He would continue to do whatever he wanted. The spouses did not give up, remained understanding of his behavior. Promise that you will no longer walk in dangerous places. Softly but insistently asked Alex's son. The man was stingy, but realized that everyone was waiting for his answer. Okay, I promise. David gave in. Sometimes Alex felt he was not a good enough parent. He knew how to do business, knew how to pressure his partners, and get them to agree to some terms of the deal. He knew how to make an impression and used his influence in the business sphere. Only he did not understand at all how to behave with a summer boy. He himself had been like that a long time ago. His priorities and needs had changed. Therefore, Alex experienced difficulties in communicating with his son. When he returned to the office, he immediately asked to look for Kate and asked her to come in to see him. You asked me. Kate entered the principal's office after a polite knock. Have a seat. How are you feeling? Nothing hurts after today. I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm not hurt, Kate smiled. After her first meeting with Alexei in the HR department, she had a good impression of her boss, which he reinforced with this behavior. Not every big business owner would worry about their employees. Keep them safe and thank them. Kate, I want to say to you, thank you so much. I am ready to write you a bonus because you have been so attentive to my son. You're about to be among yourself, and you know what I'm going through. No, Alex. I don't want a bonus. But I do have a favor to ask. I need 3 days off. My husband and I are getting married. It's a small wedding, but it requires preparation. And let me pay for it. Alex made an easy offer. I'm serious. Kate, please accept my gratitude. Tell me, whose services should I pay for the photographer? There are hotels, a banquet hall. I can afford it. Plus, it would be my pleasure to facilitate such a family-building celebration. But it's too much. We can't accept such a gift. Kate even blushed. She hadn't expected such a grand gesture. For Alex, such expenses were trifling. But Kate could not imagine that she could easily part with such a sum of money. I do not refuse from the bottom of my heart. I still will not give up. I can see you're a good man. You know, I like you too. Honestly, not many people at work know, but we just adopted him. He's stroppy and uncooperative. He's used to fighting for his place in the sun at the orphanage. And here he has everything. But he hasn't realized it yet. My wife and I don't scold him much. We don't want to scare him. You know, I grew up in an orphanage myself. I understand what you're going through. Orphans can be hard, but you'll get through it. I can see that you care. You're worried, but he's a good boy. He's still got a temper, but he'll relax when he realizes you won't give up on him. He's already been dumped once. That's why he doesn't trust you, scares you away. I grew up in another town myself. I came here to earn money. I met my love here, and we're expecting a baby. Kate touched my belly. If it's a boy, I'll name him after you. You come to the wedding with your whole family. We will be waiting for you. Alex did not refuse the offer, which was pleasant for him. Yes, and David will want to see her again. The image of the bride always evokes unique emotions in children. Cindy, my soul. We have been invited to the wedding next week, announced Alex's spouses. My new coworker, who took David off the ice, invited us in return for my favor, which would be appropriate. We're complete strangers, she hesitated, but she was interested. We're going to a wedding. David ran out of the corner into the center of the room. Do you know about it? Little rascal. His father smiled at him. Is this event going to make you happy? I've never been invited to a wedding before. I don't know what's going to happen. Come here, called Cindy to her son. First, I'll tell you how it's going to be, what the bride and groom are doing. What about the guests? What's important for you to remember? After all, weddings are not held on the street, where you need to behave and look neat. The boy listened to his foster parents without interrupting. For him, the new world called family seemed still exciting and unreliable. Strange adults, who now took care of him, were attentive and kind to him. But it was hard to believe that he wouldn't be abandoned again. He couldn't really call them mom and dad yet, but he really wanted them to succeed. David tried his best, but none of his old tricks worked. His antics used to piss off his teachers, but Alex and Cindy seemed patient, considerate, and kind. They were not in a hurry to restrict or punish him. And the boy was beginning to realize that he should hide his prickles and let the adults love him. I get it. I'll behave well, so as not to embarrass you. David agreed after the educational talk. He went to bed thinking about the upcoming ceremony. Kate was greeted by the sound of keys in the hallway of the apartment. Then, "Hi, sweetheart." He kissed the bride on the cheek and immediately put his hands around her stomach. "What did you and Mommy do today? Were you worried?" "Everything was fine," Kate replied with a smile. However, after her story about meeting David, Ben was scared. "Are you crazy? What if you had gone underwater with that boy?" He was indignant, looking at Kate with undisguised displeasure. "How could you risk yourself and our child? You don't think. You're always trying to help everyone, and they won't thank you for it. Ben, don't be so hard on yourself. I'm safe and sound. But why worry if I hadn't reacted in time? There's a family that would have been devastated today, and you're our savior. Well, at least you're not risking the baby. You're not alone anymore, and you're not just responsible for yourself." The groom didn't back down, knowing he had a right to be angry. "I get it. I'm sorry. I promise. I won't jeopardize our lives again. I didn't even think about it. You just did it, that's all." Kate confessed that she had gotten lucky today. After a brief altercation, Ben cooled down. He knew who he was going to marry. Kate was a kind-hearted person. She could never pass by anyone who was in trouble. She was very attentive to children in general. Even though these traits attracted Kate to him, he was afraid that one day it would come back to haunt her. Abruptly fallen after dinner, Boiler comfortably settled down on the couch in front of the TV. Ben, petite tired legs, put a pillow under her head to make it more comfortable and left to rest. Meeting David stirred her memory. She remembered her orphaned childhood, in the orphanage, all the hardships, and the main question that plagued every abandoned child: who were her parents? Kate remembered nothing about herself, and only, according to her caretakers, she knew that she was found at the age of 3 at the bus stop. "You were such a sweet little bead." Maria spoke of her, a beloved educator who dedicated her life to abandoned children. She put her whole heart into it and genuinely cared for every child in the institution, despite the whole system. "You didn't have any belongings with you, and no distinguishing marks or note. There have been times when parents, realizing they can't pull a child, leave them with a picture of their favorite toy or a note of apology. But that didn't happen to you, Kate. I remember the morning you were first brought to the orphanage. You were silent at first, unable to accept the change of scenery, not a single familiar face around. Everything new, a bunch of kids around you, a lot of routines. I've met kids like that. I thought you were traumatized because you wouldn't talk. But after a couple of days, you became more active and found a common language with others." Maria explained. Kate could not get more specific information about her early childhood. Her relatives could not be found. The police had no clues about her parents, although several nearby towns and villages had been searched. The only reminder of her past life was a silver pendant on a heart-shaped chain. It was engraved with the name Kate, which is how Maria knew what to call her. That's an important lead. Made law enforcement go around to every jewelry store and asked all the jewelry vendors at the markets. Only it didn't work. The chain dear to Kate's heart was only taken down on special occasions, not wanting to put it on display all the time. Kate planned to wear the silver pendant on the wedding day. For a few days, Kate kept calling Alex, as he had taken care of all the expenses for the upcoming celebration. She consulted with him about the price, not wanting to be pushy. Kate already realized that Alex would not refuse his offer, so she accepted it. Kate felt dizzy from the upcoming grandiose celebration. Never before had she felt like a princess from a fairy tale, but her wedding promised to be just that. Wow, Ben sighed. Seeing the banquet hall, they had gotten thanks to Alex's efforts. Your boss is a wonderful man. Who wouldn't believe it? That's right. Kate laughed and took her lover's hand. We'll be surrounded by such beauty. We deserve it for once. With Alex's help, Kate was able to take care of the banquet hall, the musicians, and the vending machines separately from herself as a wedding gift. Alex booked a local dance group to entertain the guests. What a party for the guests. Oh, Vanessa, walking around the room declaring in the early morning hours of the wedding day, I can't believe some rich guy would go to all that expense for nothing. What are you talking about, Mom? Kate asked, suspecting a hint in her mother-in-law's words. I think maybe you're having an affair with him. That's why he's so generous. Maybe my grandson is not my grandson at all, and she will stubbornly leave. What are you talking about? Alex is old enough to be my father, but you have fantasies, Kate said, deciding not to spoil her mood on a day like this. No matter how hard Vanessa tried, she couldn't piss off her sister-in-law and upset the wedding. She didn't resort to drastic action. She knew her son wouldn't forgive her, so there was nothing left for her to do, like pestering Kate with petty nuisances. Andrew, along with Cindy and David, were all packed and ready to leave for the restaurant. And I really wanted to meet Kate and express my gratitude to her for saving my son's life. David rode in a classic suit, similar to our figure, and proudly held a bouquet of white roses in his hands. He volunteered himself to congratulate the newlyweds and hug his savior. Worried, stroked him on the head. Alex, it will be fun there. Will you like it? Maybe even asked some girl to dance. But I can't dance. David was embarrassed and turned away to the window. Don't worry, Dad and I will show you. It's not hard to cheer him up and pat him on the arm, but it's very nice. Alex and Cindy discussed that the rooms were tastefully decorated, and the kitchen was not to be faulted. The celebration counted only about 50 guests, but from this, the company seemed only closer. Sincerely, at the signing of the newlyweds in the registry office, Alex's family did not come, so they still had to take over the baton and congratulate the young with a microphone in front of the whole hall. The first, by the way, David ran up and handed her a lush bouquet. The second was Cindy, who could not hold back her tears at the sight of the bride's tender image. Happiness to you, darlings. Understand and take care of each other. That's the most important thing, she said, hugging the bride and groom in turn. Thank you so much. Cindy smiled, and Kate smiled in return. You are very welcome, Ben added. This celebration would not have been as colorful without your participation. We are very grateful to you. Don't be. You have saved the most precious thing for us. Cindy pulled his son to him and stroked his shoulder. He really wanted to come. He couldn't wait, said he even dreamed of resting here. Well, then we'll dance with you. David winked at Kate, and he blushed. When it was Alex's turn to congratulate the young ones, he hugged Kate and sent when he noticed familiar jewelry on her chest. The same heart-shaped pendant. He would never forget it. Strangely, Cindy had been so caught up in the festivities and pleasantries that she hadn't noticed this obvious piece of jewelry. Kate, where did you get that? Alex pointed to the pendant, unable to take his eyes off it. Kate was alarmed by the question. She immediately wrapped her fingers around the small silver heart and twirled it nervously. It was the only thing my parents left me, she said in a low voice. I had no other markings. It was used to find my father and mother. But what is Alex? He can't be familiar to you. Oh, there's Cindy. She looked at her spouse, who turned pale, staring at Kate. Kate told Alex, before blacking out from reality. He could no longer perceive what was happening. This was too much for him. His name was being called from all directions, but it was as if the words didn't reach his ears. Intervening, he didn't recognize the sounds either. Alex's consciousness plunged into the distant past, to the time when he himself was still a child. He grew up pampered by his parents. They rarely scolded him for pranks, instilled good manners, knowing that their son would definitely grow up to be an important man. Little Alex was inquisitive and cheerful. People always gathered around him, calling him the soul of the company. And where do you meet everyone? Neighborhood boys were surprised. I answered at the sections, so I have every day by minute scheduled. Alex is used to success. He often went to sports competitions, performed poems and songs, played in school plays. His parents were proud of Alex and believed that he would enter a prestigious university, and so it happened. The son did not deceive their expectations. Already in a couple of months after entering the university, he became a real star of the faculty, which no one left unattended situations where most people were lost. He perceived as a challenge. The cheerful nature of a guy curious about science could not fail to attract the opposite sex. Cindy immediately discerned a charismatic young man at the birthday party of a mutual acquaintance. But she was in no hurry to develop the acquaintance. What do you think, Alex? He's single right now. Shall I give him your number? No, not at all. Cindy cut her off. She thought that guys who made a lot of noise were usually not worth trusting. I don't think he's serious. I wouldn't go out with him. Well, you shouldn't. Alex is decent. You can count on him as a friend. Cindy didn't intend for Alex to notice her either. He found out from his friends beforehand about the impression he made on her and tried not to scare her off. Later, the couple recalled how Alex tried to draw Cindy's attention to himself and how she was strict with him. You were unbearable. I wanted to give up almost immediately because I realized that your image, which I was presented to me familiar, does not correspond to reality. Shared impressions, Cindy. And why did you put up with me being so divergent in front of you? Alex was perplexed. It was interesting. What tricks will you still go for? Laughing, answered that. It was important for me to know that I wasn't just a trophy to you. You're not the family Alex treated with warmth. You didn't know them. A son would never choose an unworthy woman to be his wife. And she was close to her speakers, almost as close as my own parents. My daughter-in-law is gold. Shared Alex's mother with acquaintances. It's interesting to see what kind of maiden Alex has snatched up. It's rare for a mother-in-law to say that about her daughter-in-law. Maybe she hasn't shown her teeth yet. Are you excited? The first months of married life, the newlyweds enjoyed each other and their happiness. They soon wanted a child and did not delay with their firstborn. Was in carefree moments marred by the strongest cab, braids, vertigo. Cindy. We'll live with the parents for now, suggested the spouse's Alex. I am constantly at work, literally live there, and cannot concentrate on anything, knowing that you are here alone. And if something happens to you, I won't forgive myself. Wouldn't you? Cindy agreed. It's better this way. Not only will I be safe with my family, but I won't miss you. Is that what you gave when things started to pick up? Financial prosperity is nice, but then there's not enough money to get you back on your feet. I know, honey, I know. But this is the peak. Alex justified. If you give slack at this moment, then you will never reach this level again. Be patient. I'll do my best to be with you more often. And Mom and Dad will watch you. I understand, Cindy replied. But tears were welling up in her own eyes. Her raging hormones made her sensitive to everything, even when she didn't want to show how upset she was. Cindy was actually calmer at her mother-in-law's house. She was constantly supervised, able to get help immediately if she started to feel dizzy. Come on, come here, my golden flutter over her Wendy, Alex's mother. When Cindy complained about something, I'm fine. I just need to rest. I shouldn't have let you mop the floor. You can't stand upside down like that. I'm an old fool, torturing the girl. And don't worry, I'm not sugar. I won't melt this load. Women used to work in the fields and carry other children. I'm no worse. Well, with your stubbornness, no son will thank you. So stop it. From now on, you'll only rest at my place. Little Kate was born prematurely, But not her health, not her health. Her mother was not harmed by it. Cindy, though exhausted by the agonizing pregnancy, was now glad it was all behind her. What little one? Alex sighed. Looking at his daughter through the window of the maternity ward was not allowed, so he only had to look at his baby from afar. Alex, I can't believe that these are our creations, sighed Cindy. I was just getting used to the belly. Now the baby's born. The whole family groomed little Kate with care and attention. Grandparents dreamed of holding their grandchild in their arms, rocking her, singing her a lullaby. Kate grew up in the love of a large number of people. She never gave her parents any major trouble, quickly learning what was explained to her. Alex was crazy about his little girl. Daddy's little girl was said with a smile by anyone who saw Kate copy exactly. That was the most offensive thing of all. Cindy laughed. I then agonized. She looks like her daddy and is always clinging to him. For her first birthday, Alex bought her a special gift, a silver tip in the shape of a heart. He knew that the baby was still small and could just try her father's gift on her teeth. But after her second birthday, Kate did not part with the beautiful thing, which she wore around her neck and bragged about her father's gift to everyone. Cindy and Alex lived their lives thinking they had enough of everything. They did not complain about anything and looked into the future with a smile. Even though hardships happened, they had each other and bore it all together. The family had loyal, reliable friends. At gatherings, the children played amongst themselves, and little Kate easily got along with the other kids. Because of his wealth, Alex could afford to buy his daughter any toy, whether it was a new Barbie doll, a scooter, or a four-wheeler. As the family's trading business grew, so did the couple's house. Soon it was a floor higher. The furniture changed, the yard expanded, and a swimming pool appeared. For little Kate, the parents built a small pool with steps, where the girl under the supervision of adults in hot weather. Childhood was carefree and pleasant. Alex circled around the spouse. Seeing that she does not feel as well as my Joy says, maybe we should stay home. I can't watch you suffer. No, not at all. Go without me. It's been so long since you've had a vacation, and Zaitseva will be offended if none of us are at the wedding. They're so revolted by Oli's fiancé. They won't forgive us. We see them often enough as it is. They'll get over it. Are you more important to me? Kate doesn't understand these events yet. I can't sit there knowing you're alone. You don't have to patronize me, Cindy said. If I get really sick, I'll call a doctor or go to my parents. Okay, but you take care of yourself. We're going to get ready. Alex went with Kate to the wedding of his brother's cousin's daughter. It was her first big train trip. It was going to take more than one day. Alex did not know how his daughter would bear the journey, whether she would be capricious and make other passengers uncomfortable. Don't worry about her hobbies, Cindy advised. Do you draw together? The main thing is not to forget favorite toys. Since Alex to the last could not decide whether they would go to the holiday-free compartment, they didn't. They had to go in a parlor with fellow travelers. They were lucky an elderly woman with her husband and grandson were charmed by 3-year-old Kate, so that the country went common language with William. He was only a few years older. No longer was Alex concerned that her daughter would be bored. The children entertained themselves without needing much attention. She's a smart girl, Miranda, William's grandmother said. It's obvious you're dusting her off. She does, Alex admitted. She has everything. But in some matters my spouse and I are strict enough to spoil. There are grandparents, and we have to lay the core. It's good to have parents. My husband and I are raising William ourselves. Forbidden conversation. It's been one day. Alex put Kate to bed and went to rest in a good mood. In the morning, he woke up because of a premonition. At that moment, the train just stopped in a remote area. Not a single residential house was visible outside the window. All around were fields and trees, giving in to the sensation. Alex went out into the vestibule to look around and took his wallet with him. He never left valuables unattended and even slept with it wedged between the wall with his own body. Kate remained asleep under the blanket. At that moment, 3 stout young men with running looks entered the train from the station. There were many of them at that time, so those who were awake worried about their belongings and tried not to make eye contact with them. When they noticed a lonely Alex in the vestibule, they went towards him. He immediately realized that something was about to happen. The bandits approached him closely. All who saw it tried to pretend that they did not notice anything. They cared more about their own well-being than the fate of a complete stranger. "Hey man, what are you hiding there?" one of the attackers asked in an insolent tone. "Guys, I have nothing of value. Look for someone else," simply answered Alex. He didn't want to provoke a conflict, but he also thought it was stupid to be unconvincing. "You don't tell us what to do," the second one added, and looked at Alex with a clear threat in his eyes. "Look, I don't need problems, but I don't have money. And why do I carry a bag with me? Who doesn't have money doesn't save anything." Alex realized there was no way to avoid trouble. The first blow hit him in the chest. He was out of breath in a flash. But with his hand clutching the pin in the net, he didn't give birth. Then 2 grabbed him, and the third began to beat him to incapacitate him and stop his resistance. It ended with Alex being thrown almost unconsciously out of the train as it picked up speed. From the impact with the ground, he passed out and remained lying there for some time. Nobody would have known about his fate if not a local grandfather on a bicycle had not shown vigilance. Dead. "Hey, wake up, wake up. Who is it so scared of you, Michael?" and patted Alex on the cheeks. He didn't open his eyes. Then Michael felt his pulse and made sure he could still be saved. "It is necessary to urgently by evening, would not he?" punched under his nose, and he rode his bicycle to his home village. Kate was left all alone. The guides were knocked down, looking for the father of the little crying girl, who could not calm down without a relative. Miranda and her family had gotten off the train at night, so no one could accurately describe Alex's appearance. How did Kate end up in an unfamiliar distant city? No one knew. It was unknown who took her to the bus stop, but it was done in good faith, a lost child being easier to find in a busy place. It was impossible to make sense of this dark story. Thanks to the actions of a concerned Michael, Alex survived, but never regained consciousness. When Cindy received a call from the police in an unfamiliar city, she almost lost her senses. "Alex, your husband?" Greg asked her. "Yes." "What happened?" Cindy's heart skipped a beat. She felt the unbearable weight of the bad news. He was found unconscious by the railroad tracks. Now he's in the hospital for head trauma and is in a coma. Cindy could hardly remember the time. Not only had her husband not recovered for weeks, the doctors made no guarantees. Then there was Kate missing. The only person who could shed any truth to her disappearance lay in a coma. "Why am I being punished for this?" Cindy sobbed, breaking into the very town where Alex was being treated. "How am I supposed to find Kate now? I have no idea." With her came the spokespeople, who were shocked to hear what had happened. The family did everything they could to find their child, but no one knew where to look. After all, she is still a toddler and knows nothing but her name. Cindy could not rest. Grief consumed her completely. She was powerless, and Alex couldn't help her. "My poor girl, where is she?" A mother's heart was torn by the pain of her father-in-law, supported her, trying to appear strong. But the fear for the life of her own son and granddaughter did not go unnoticed. For 6 months, Alex had been in a coma. Cindy had long ago moved him to his hometown and provided the care he needed. She had to take over the management of the firm, which previously seemed beyond her abilities. Alex's father, who had passed on his talent for exact sciences to his son, helped her get into the process and gave her advice. In addition to taking care of her family, Cindy was trying to keep the business afloat so that it would not go bankrupt. After all, the bills for her husband's care were considerable. Alex regained consciousness in the presence of a nurse. The attending physician showed up immediately. After examination, it became clear that no changes neither in behavior nor in the senses of the head injury did not cause. "Oh my God, what a blessing," Cindy sobbed, hugging her beloved husband. But she did not know how to tell him about Kate. The news had hit the man hard. Grief overwhelmed him. "I wish I were dead. I'd rather be gone. Gone. She's gone. I couldn't keep her safe, couldn't protect our baby." Alex began to doubt himself as the head of the family. He realized he couldn't protect himself or the baby. And now she is in an unknown place. "How did you bear it all?" he asked Cindy, and she had no answer. "I don't know. I just lived in hope that today I would get a phone call saying that Kate had been found." Alexei made it easier to grieve. At times the spouses quarreled, and harsh words flew from us that it was his fault Kate had disappeared. Sometimes she blamed herself for not going to the wedding or being with her daughter. When Alex tried to fight off muggers, "We don't know how it could have been," consoled her spouse. A new twist in the investigation and pleased the couple. "Found your attackers," the investigator said on the phone. "They're at the prosecutor's office now. They're being questioned. Thank you for letting me know. I'll be there soon." Despite the fact that thanks to his connections, Alex was always aware of the details of the investigation, it did not bring him closer to his daughter. At the interrogation, it turned out that the bandits did not have a tip-off. From time to time, they robbed travelers, but it was like casual work. They had no intention of targeting Alex specifically. "We didn't know the man," one of the attackers shouted under pressure. "It was the first time we ever seen him. My daughters didn't know anything at all. Why do we need a 3-year-old girl? It's just a lot of attention. If we didn't ask for a ransom, why did we bother with her all these years?" The other two in the gang said the same thing. Alex and Cindy were not relieved to have caught their attackers. They had hoped for a completely different outcome of the interrogation. The last link to Kate had been lost. "Alex, I can't take it anymore. Where is she? Why isn't anyone thinking about this missing child, and why can't we do anything? We have so much money, but they don't give us anything useful." Cindy cried. Her strength was already running out. She gradually faded away. The couple fought a lot, but they still held on to each other. "Do you think we should stop trying?" asked Alex. "Careful. I'm ready to fight to the end. I'm the guilty one who has to find her." Several years passed before Cindy and Alex tried to conceive a second child, but the woman's body had weakened so much that there were health problems. They had difficulty conceiving, and the spouses began to face a new problem. But for what? Why do we have this? Cindy read after a tantrum. Have we ever hurt anyone enough to have this happen to us? No examination with new machines. No doctors could guarantee that Alex and Cindy would be able to become parents again. They stayed determined, and for the next 3 years, they kept trying. Only none of them brought the desired result. Cindy and Alex were well known to a wide range of people, many of whom were aware of their family tragedy. How they were holding up, people whispered. When the couple showed up at an event, I can't imagine how difficult it must have been for them. It's the kind of grief you don't wish on anyone. I heard they tried to have another baby, but it's not working out. What kind of family? No kids. What do they work so hard for, and who will they leave it all to? The tongues were wagging, the gossip. Many people were seriously concerned with the question of who Alex will give all this fortune to. Every year, the success of his firm was growing. He could compete with those who had never known he existed before. But for Alex and Cindy, their business became the only way to get away from their share. They were tightly engaged in work, devoting all their time to it, completely forgetting about the comfort of home. Business deals, contracts, reports, new staff became much more important to them. Business was booming, but it didn't bring happiness. In time, Cindy began to realize their once happy and promising marriage had become completely empty. Alex was still attentive to her, did not raise his voice, always listened to her and made gifts. But the spark was gone. There was no meaning. Business was no fun. It was just a way to kill time, nothing more. "Alex, I want to talk to you," Alex called Alex the other night after dinner. "It's a serious matter. I think you'll understand me. After all, we've always understood each other half-heartedly. I'm listening to you." Alex moved from the table to the sofa and took his wife's hand. "What is it?" "I want a baby." "You want it? Let's get one from the orphanage." We never considered that option because we thought we could do it on our own. But we couldn't. My life is empty. I don't enjoy it at all. I'm like a robot. Every day is the same, and it's joyless. And I want to be a mother. Alex didn't even need time to think about it. "I'm in. Let's just get a boy." "Yes, taking a girl is too painful," nodded Cindy. She hugged her husband with a smile. They understood each other again. David was almost 8. The boy was stroppy and resentful. He had been growing up in an orphanage since he was 4. He too, to some extent, had learned the injustice of life. His birth parents were alcoholics and had no time to take care of their son. He was sent to the street to beg because there was no food in the house, only booze. Neighbors fed the boy. They constantly applied to the social service, and soon David was taken away from his parents. His life in the orphanage was not sweet either. The older boys were cruel and liked to bully. That's why David grew up so uncontrollable, ready at any moment to give a reaction to someone else's action. But gradually the participation in his life, Cindy Alex, softened him, made him believe and hide his little needles in the character. "Alex, Alex, wake up." The first thing Alex saw when he opened his eyes was Kate's concerned face. She was still as beautiful in her white holiday dress. Nearby was sobbing Cindy, who, like her spouse, realized everything was all right. Ben helped the one to sit on the table and handed him a glass of water. "Mom, Dad, why are you crying?" Looked at them confused David. "Don't be afraid." Sweet Kate stroked his cheek and pressed him against her. "They are fine, just not moved by the wedding." At a wedding, people always cry. In part, they are very happy bride and groom. But David was not satisfied with this answer. He did not believe that the parents cried with happiness with such faces. He saw their pain and hugged Cindy. "And ours," Alex said, barely audible. "You and our girl. Are you sure they're adequate?" whispered Ben to the bride. "Should we call an ambulance? I home like this." Kate is the voice of Cindy's son. "That pendant your dad gave you for your first birthday." It was. He pointed it out to her husband. "You're our daughter, Kate." "You're ours." Cindy burst into tears. Ben sat both Kate and Cindy down on the table. He began to realize what was going on. "Are you saying that you are Kate's biological parents?" He clarified. "Yes," the couple responded in faint voices. After the confession, all 4 of them retired to a separate room to discuss it quietly. "I'll watch your boy," Vanessa volunteered, although she was terribly curious as to what was going on. She volunteered to be remembered by the rich to sponsor her son's wedding. "I can't believe it," Kate said, coming to her senses after realizing what had happened. "You only recognized me from Coulomb. You looked at me and didn't recognize me." "Honey, don't be so hot." Ben patted her on the shoulder. "You were only 3, and now you're an adult. They couldn't guess. You should know we never abandoned you," Alex said. "The story is very complicated. When you disappeared and we searched for you for several years, we lost hope, but continued in the prosecutor's office, and the police already hated us. It is difficult for them to communicate with those who have lost children. They are forced to be cruel." The conversation was long and exciting. Everyone was experiencing inside a storm of emotions, thoughts, and wanted to ask questions. The guests were sympathetic to the absence of the newlyweds. They saw that something serious had happened. To be 100% sure they were right, Alex and Cindy Kate decided to do a DNA test and determine the degree of kinship. The result came back a few days later. "We are now officially related," Cindy concluded, smiling awkwardly at her daughter. "I've been looking forward to this day. I've been looking forward to seeing you." Can we give you a hug?" "Careful," asked Alex, spreading his arms out to the sides. Kate answered them without words, stepped forward and pressed herself against her family. She cried silently, reunited with her family. Ben was by her side and couldn't stop smiling with happiness for his beloved. After meeting her parents, Kate's life changed radically. They immediately looked for her and her husband spacious housing in the city center. The move took place in the shortest possible time. "Will you need a place?" she urged Cindy, alluding to the grandchild in Kate's belly and possible future children. "And you'll be convenient to any part of the city from here," nodded Alex, looking at the stricken faces of the newlyweds. "Alex and Cindy, this is too much for us." "Oh, Ben. On the contrary, it's just right for you," his father-in-law answered him. "For the happiness of my blood, nothing is too much for me. And if she chose you, you are a worthy man. I see how dear she is to you, and how sincere you are with her. Plus, my grandchildren will grow up here as well. I found not only a daughter, but another child, and I'm as happy as I'll ever be without stopping us from enjoying it." Ben laughed and shook Alex's hand. He had seen how Kate had blossomed since meeting her mother and father. Now, besides the fact that Cindy and Alex were always welcome and called every day to make sure it wasn't all a dream, Kate had gained a lot. Her parents have taken care of the family car and the future. If you're interested, I'll help you with a job in a field you'd like to try yourself. By the way, I have offered a job in our firm since she is an heiress. She will have to undergo training, and I will personally take care of it. It's up to you. There's a place for you too," Alex told my son-in-law. "Thank you, Kate, and I will discuss it. And I'll tell you." Attitude. Vanessa's attitude to Kate changed noticeably. When she saw her and her son's apartment, she almost burst with envy. "Oh my gosh. Oh, come on. What kind of a place? How are the three of you going to live here? Why are you wasting so much space? It seems that way to you now," Kate replied with a smile. "Then you'll get used to it and won't notice the space." No matter how much hinted at Kate, she didn't give in to her tricks and didn't offer to move in with her. "You have a great apartment, Vanessa. There's plenty of room for the two of you, especially now that Ben and I aren't embarrassing you anymore." Now we proudly declared to her friends that her fiancé was not a motherless, orphaned, wealthy lady from a family of businessmen. She softened considerably after she asked her parents to help her and pay for his surgery. "Of course, what's the question?" Alex replied. "We are relatives after all. And you can't turn a blind eye to such serious health problems." "Thank you, Alex," Vanessa cried. "We owe you a debt of gratitude. You're so wonderful. And your daughter is a son and just adorable." Kate wanted to laugh at how malleable Vanessa had become. Even though she wanted a better future for her son, she seemed to be primarily trying to elevate her own status. Despite the drastic change in her life, Kate lived up to her title of daddy's girl and quickly got involved in the company's affairs. And Alex was so proud of her success that he prophesied a management position for her in just a few months. Even being on a long term, Kate took her position with all seriousness and with great dedication, worked for the benefit of the family business. "Honey, you spend so much time in the office that I'm starting to worry. Will you want to go on maternity leave?" Occasionally teased her Ben, who still provided her with peace and comfort after a day's work. "Maybe I shouldn't go on maternity leave. Stay home for 3 months, while the baby is completely helpless without mom, and then go back to the office." Similar suggestions dismayed Kate, but he reflected. "My male ego aside, the idea is a good one," he agreed. "Objectively speaking, you bring a lot more money into the house than I do. It would make more sense to leave the child to me now that your career is on the upswing." But Kate's eyes immediately lit up. She hadn't expected Ben to support her. "I mean, it's usually men who are offended by that kind of thing." "Really, I agree. You meant what you said, thank you." Dear Kate kissed her husband too. And once again, I realized I'd chosen the right man. Already in the second month in the management of her father's company, Kate was able to figure out the mole. He worked quietly, and the teen news to him did not arouse suspicion. But Kate was more careful. "Well, daughter, well, this is our treasure," admired Alex. "It is necessary to find out the bastard. I took pity on him, gave him a job, and he stabbed me in the back. You can't fool us." Kate laughed, satisfied with her success. Such luck gave her confidence, and the support of her family played a huge role. In her spare time, together with Cindy Kate, she did volunteer work, fed the homeless, and sponsored children's shelters. They went into the water, by the way, right at the workplace during a meeting. "Kate, you're all right. I think the baby's begging," she said, looking around at the staff with a frightened look. Someone ordered Alex to call. Soon the whole Kate family was overwhelmed with the news of the birth. Relatives were rushing to the clinic from all over the city. When already all Ben nervously talked along the corridor, looking for support in the eyes of loved ones. "It's not a quick matter," Vanessa answered him. "You'd better have a snack, son. You don't have a face." "I don't feel like it. How am I supposed to rest here while Kate's out there screaming like that?" "Honey, listen. Mom. Cindy, you can't help Kate. She's going through a natural process. She'll be fine. The best doctors are here. They won't take care of her." Despite Cindy's bravery, Alex held her hand because they were both experiencing the changes in their lives happened so rapidly that they didn't have time to get used to them, just having a son and daughter. And now they were about to become grandparents. "I think I just became an uncle." David brightened up when he saw the midwife coming towards him, smiling. "If you like the story, please support me with a thumbs up button. It's only one click for you, but it means a lot to me. Thank you in advance."